Hey guys, it's Ursula's Event, and welcome back to Nancy Drew with the Legend of the Crystal Skull. I'm hanging out with my sister. And we have to figure out what we gotta do next. We know we gotta take a really good look at stuff everywhere in the parlor. We have to take a look at the garden still. And
there's a spider.
We found a spider. We gotta figure out what's going on in here. Like the books and stuff. Does he have anything to tell us? You know the
Yes.
spider's favorite song?
They got nothing.
I'll let you get back to work.
We need to find some
Awesome.
chalk. Oh, look, I can look at this now.
What was that?
That was an
It
iguana.
was Uncle Bruno's pet iguana, Iggy. He's always in here stealing paper. He must be using it to build a nest or something. Look, I had all those books arranged so they fit perfectly in that box. Put them back in, okay? I don't have time.
I just want to look through this one book.
Go right ahead, after you put all those other books back.
Yeah, they weren't exactly, arranged in the best way possible.
Well, here we are now to do that.
I love arrangement.
And that should be... That's it.
That'll
That's
do
it.
it.
We got this. No problem.
Really no problem.
Super sleuths. Crystal skulls, fact or fable?
Oh,
the Hotchkiss!
I love Beatrice Hotchkiss.
Yay, Hotchkiss! We're gonna call her. Fact or fable?
An overview.
I kind of wish she would read this for us.
Alright. In her, classic Hotchkiss voice.
Oh my god, yes, and asking for chicken drumsticks.
50 of them. Anyway,
Cluck, cluck.
one of the most ancient and widespread legends known to humankind can be summed up thusly. Scattered over the earth are 13 humanoid skulls carved out of pure crystal. At some point in the future, fate will bring the 13 skulls together and they will speak, imparting wisdom that will save the human race from annihilation and usher in a golden era of peace and enlightenment. There are several versions of this legend. In one, the skulls were created by Mayans, Incans, or Aztecs and collectively form a repository of information dealing how and why humans came to be. Another legend credits their creation to the extraterrestrials who seeded the earth with human race and left the skulls behind to explain their actions at some point in the future. Yet another contends the skulls are ancient in origin, but important that each skull is somehow magical in and of itself. The distinctive gifts they offer their owners repeatedly include precognition, clairvoyance, telekinesis, and of course immortality. Some variations combine all of the above. What is both indisputable and intriguing about the general legend and its smaller, colorful variations is that several mysterious crystal skulls have indeed been discovered in the past millennium, turning up in all corners of the earth. What follows is an examination of everything that is currently known about these skulls in hopes of separating the facts of their existence from the fantasies of human imagination. The Whisperer. The first documented reference to the crystal skull, known as the Whisperer, came in 1532, shortly after Hernando de Soto helped Francisco Pizarro ambush and capture the Incan emperor
Atahualpa.
at the Battle of Cajamarca. De Soto's aide-de-camp, while updating the De Soto's expedition records, noted that during
Chalupa's
subsequent imprisonment, De Soto befriended the Incan ruler. In time,
Chalupa
Chalupa told De Soto a secret. He possessed an exquisitely detailed life-size human skull that the ancient ones had carved out of pure clear crystal. He happened upon it at a hut of the deceased high priest, who, astonishingly advanced age, had caused his fellow priests, out of fear or jealousy, to slip him fatal dose of poison. Chalupa took a fancy to the skull and kept it, and soon realized that the skull, which he contended would sometimes whisper to him in an unearthly voice, using unfamiliar words, was giving him immunity to all human ailments. As long as he possessed the skull, Chalupa told De Soto he would live forever. But, like the priest before him, and like everyone who possessed the particular skull after him, Chalupa soon discovered that while the skull could perhaps protect him from the ravages of time and nature, it was no match for the treachery of his fellow men. To De Soto's great surprise and dismay, Pizarro had Chalupa executed. Although there is no mention of the skull in De Soto's records, it is highly doubtful that the Spaniard would have left such a treasure behind when he returned to Europe in 1536. Indeed, the next documented reference to the crystal skull, which Chalupa seems to have inadvertently bequeathed to De Soto, came in a letter written by a nobleman in the court of Philip II, the member of the Austrian Habsburg family, who took over the Spanish Empire in 1556. While a guest at the Habsburg Palace in Vienna, the nobleman mentions encountering a crystalline head of death, which a manservant swore made utterances strange and low, too terrible for the ear to bear. Apparently, the skull then made its way to France, most likely via Anne of Austria, who married King Louis XIII of France in 1615, because the next reference to a death head carved from remarkably clear crystal can be found in the manifest of the ship belonging to René Robert Cavalier, Sieur de LaSalle, a French explorer who in 1684 was preparing for a journey that would take the skull, ironically, back to the New World from which it had become. The fact that LaSalle took the skull with him to his expedition to colonize the Mississippi River Valley suggests that he may have been aware of its reputation for conferring immortality upon its owner. But once again, his real enemy proved to be not age or disease, but his fellow man. A group of his men, stranded in what is now Texas after the expedition landed in the wrong place and antagonized the local Native Americans, eventually mutinied and killed LaSalle so they could abandon their mission and head for the relative safety of the French outposts in Canada. The Whisperer, however, appears to have been left behind and didn't reappear until almost 200 years later. The photo to the right, found in the basement of the library in Jonesboro, Arkansas, suggests that by 1881, Chalupa's crystal skull had found itself in the hands of a traveling huckster who apparently used it to lure potential patrons to his wagon so he could sell them various bombs and elixirs. That's like the original, hey kids, I got candy in my van. If he is the same Curtis Caldwell who, according to census records, settled in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, he lived and worked to the ripe old age of 93, dying only when a dissatisfied customer set fire.
Murder?
I didn't get there yet. Customer set fire to his house in a fit of anger. If the Whisperer was in Caldwell's house, it no doubt survived the fire, but exactly what happened to it next has proved impossible to discern, and its current whereabouts is a mystery. But what is known about the skull's previous owners could prove very useful in solving that mystery, for all the people who have possessed it have had two things in common. They lived for an unusually long time, and they always, without exception, met with death at the hand of another. In other words, the trail that leads to the discovery of this particular crystal skull will likely be one that begins with murder. Can you go back? I want to see the picture.
Yeah.
Oops.
Too far.
Wait, I want to see the one with the...
Curtis Caldwell's Cures and Curiosities, The Whispering Crystal Skull, Wonder of the Ancient Incan World, Inquire Inside.
Okay.
Okay, so basically...
How long did Bruno live till?
I don't remember.
90-something?
But he did die after not having the skull anymore.
Well, yeah, it seems so.
How did Bruno die, if you don't mind my asking?
He was murdered.
Just dropped dead in the front hallway. I mean, the guy was 95 years old. Here, check it out. Myocardial infarction. That's doctor speak for heart attack.
Attending physician, Dr. Gilbert Buford, 504-555-9970. Was that Bruno's doctor?
And his best friend, or so I'm told. I've never met him.
Advanced atherosclerosis.
Interesting keychain.
That's one of Uncle Bruno's glass eyes. It's the one he was wearing when he died.
Oh, creepy.
How nice.
Anything else?
You're
I'll check
creepy.
back with you later.
What'd you do? You
Sounds
buried
good.
him and pulled his eye out?
Yeah, that is kind of spoopy.
Oh, actually, he probably was cremated.
He was cremated, so I guess they had to take the eye out.
Yeah.
This is Dr. Gilbert Buford's answering service. How may I help you?
I need to talk to Dr. Buford. Could you maybe give me a number where I can reach him?
No, ma'am, I cannot. Is this an emergency?
Sort of. I mean, it's not a medical emergency. See, I'm only going to be in town for a short time, and Dr. Buford and I have this mutual friend who died recently, and I just really need to talk to him about it.
Need some consoling, huh?
Yes, I need some consoling. That's it exactly.
Well, tell you what. It's against the rules to give you his phone number, but I can tell you that now that he's all but retired, Dr. Buford spends most of his evenings at his favorite gumbo stand down in the French Quarter. If you really need to talk to him, you can probably find him there.
Great. Do you know the address?
It's at the corner of Rampart and Domain.
Did you say Rampart and Domain?
I did indeed. Granny Pumpkin's Cajun cooking. They make some darn fine gumbo.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and I'm truly sorry about your loss.
My loss?
That mutual friend of yours and Dr. Buford's?
Oh, right.
Wow, Nancy. Way to
Thank
blow your
you.
cover.
That's very kind of you. Bye.
That's the guy who's sitting in front of the gumbo truck.
Should be. Let's call Hotchkiss. And then we'll call Bess.
Yes, hello?
Hi, my name's Nancy Drew. Is this Professor Hotchkiss?
I am she. Nancy Drew. Your name has a ring to it. Do I know you?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we met a little while back in Wisconsin.
Oh, yes. You were the delightful young lady doling out the samples in the tasting room of that cheese factory. Yum, yum.
No, I met you at Wickford Castle.
That's ridiculous. There was no cheese tasting room at Wickford Castle.
No, we were both guests there. I found a journal written by Marie Antoinette, which you translated. Remember?
Thanks to you, suddenly all I can think about is how wonderful a nice big slab of Colby cheese would taste right now. Listen, Mandy, I'm on a deadline, so if you could please just tell me why you called.
But my name isn't...
Deadline! Let's cut to the chase, shall we? Chop, chop.
Did a man from New Orleans named Bruno Bolet ever call you?
Ah, now there's a name you can remember. Bolet. Nice and French. I'm a scholar of French history, you know.
Yes, I know. So did Bruno Bolet call you?
Indeed he did. Oui, oui.
Why did he call, if you don't mind my asking?
Because he had read my book, of course. The Crystal Skulls. Fact or fable, one of my best efforts. Sold like hotcakes, smothered in a rich, tangy lemon sauce.
Did he say anything about owning one of the skulls himself?
I would have hung up on him straight away if he had. I tell you, Brandy, if I had $1 for every crackpot who's called claiming to own one of those skulls, I'd be able to dine at the Russian tea room every evening for the rest of my life. All right, that's a bit of hyperbole, but you get the picture. No. If memory serves, we talked mostly about the skull called the Whisperer. He wanted to know if I had learned any more about it since my book was published, which I hadn't, or if I had any theory as to what happened to it, which I didn't.
And that was the extent of your conversation?
Well, now, let me think. My, such insatiable curiosity, Nellie. You remind me of someone I encountered on one of my journeys. But for the life of me, I cannot remember her name or the circumstances.
Nancy Drew? Wickford Castle?
Ah! The eyes have it.
I'm sorry?
That's what Bruno Bolet said when I turned the tables and asked him if he had any idea where the Whisperer was. He said, the eyes have it. Then he chuckled and hung up.
How much would a crystal skull like the Whisperer be worth?
In this crazy day and age, where the shorn hair and used tissues of celebrities get sold for thousands of dollars, there's absolutely no telling, Candy. $500,000 easily. Maybe even $1 million. Maybe 2. Maybe 10. The sky's the limit. Cha-ching, cha-ching.
If someone found a skull made of crystal, how could they be sure it's one of the crystal skulls?
Wonderful question, Francie. How indeed? Because there are sure to be thousands of fakes out there. Perhaps tens of thousands. But remember, the real skulls were made long before the tools commonly used for carving today were invented. Which means, let's put on our thinking caps.
Modern day tools would have left marks if the skull was a fake?
Exactly so. Mind you, the marks on a good fake would be microscopic and thus imperceptible to the human eye. However, any thorough laboratory analysis would quickly unmask a counterfeit.
So the only way to prove that a skull is the real deal is by proving it's not a fake?
And by examining its provenance, its history of ownership. If it can be shown that a particular specimen has been passed along from antiquity into modern times and didn't just suddenly appear in, say, Germany in the mid-19th century, that would tend to support its authenticity as well.
The idea that the Whisperer can make its owner immortal, do you believe that?
I believe that things that defy any so-called rational explanations happen all Now, does that mean there are mysterious external forces at work in the universe of which we do not and cannot ever have full knowledge? Or does it all boil down to us? If the human heart desperately wants something to be true, does the human mind have the power to make it true? Who knows? Oh, questions, questions, questions. Oh, how dreary life would be without them.
In your book, you said that all the people who've ever owned the Whisperer were murdered, yet Bruno Bolet dropped dead of a heart attack.
Are you saying the Whisperer was in his possession after all? The scallywag! Why didn't he tell me that? Oh, that's right. I would have hung up on him. Well, if that's the case, then I strongly suggest you take a close look at his so-called heart attack, Sandy. Because if he owned the skull and he died, I guarantee you it was at the hands of someone else. Or my name's not Beatrice Gertrude Winifred Hotchkiss.
That's it for now.
Rock and roll!
How she used to end.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, her conversations. But yeah, if you haven't played the
First
Treasure
game.
in the Royal Tower, which is game number 4 in the series, Beatrice Hotchkiss is someone who did help us.
She was a character in the game.
Yeah, she was. And she could never get her name right.
Hello?
Hi, Bess, it's me.
So what's been happening? Tell me everything.
Well, let's see. Since the last time we talked, I was just about getting ready.
Interesting stuff.
But the reason I called is, I need you to talk to this doctor named Gilbert Buford, who, as it turns out, likes to hang out at a gumbo stand called Granny Pumpkin's Cajun Cookin', which should be right across from our hotel.
You just want me to talk to him? That's it? Nothing nefarious? No black ops stuff?
He was Bruno Bolet's doctor, and apparently his best friend, too. I just need for you to see if he thinks there was anything weird about the way Bruno died.
What do you mean by weird?
I mean, I kind of think maybe Bruno was murdered.
Murdered? By whom?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Everyone's a suspect at this point.
Including this Gilbert Buford guy?
Well,
Great, I'm gonna be chatting up Jack the Ripper.
oh, I'm sure the guy's fine, but be subtle, just in case.
Well, I can see the gumbo stand from our balcony. If he's the guy that's sitting down there, I guess he looks harmless. Okay, I'll go talk to him.
Thanks, Bess. Let me know what happens.
Cheerio!
Alright, now we can talk to him.
Why, hello, young lady. How kind of you to grace an old man with your lovely presence.
Not creepy at all.
My name's Bess Marvin. I'm looking for Dr. Gilbert Buford.
Well, it's a pleasure to report that I am he.
Your answering service said I'd probably find you here.
This here is my favorite spot in the whole city. Delicious gumbo, pleasing view, particularly now, I might add.
Creepy old guy.
I'd like to ask you some questions about Bruno Bolet, if that's okay.
I'd prefer subject matter of a happier nature, but I do not want to seem inhospitable, so what is it you want to know?
Is it true that Dr. Bolet was your best friend?
Well, now, I was certainly his best friend, but I cannot honestly say that he was mine. Fact is, while socializing with my fellow man, particularly with pretty young women such as yourself,
Oh my god,
has
dude,
always
let it
been
go.
a source of pleasure for me. Bruno was just the opposite. Unfortunately, the older he got, the more numerous his idiosyncrasies became, and the less concerned about their negative effect upon others he became.
His idiosyncrasies didn't bother you?
Now, as a doctor of medicine, I am not only accustomed to dealing with the abnormal, but I find that I'm actually drawn to it. I, for one, thoroughly enjoyed Bruno's outlandish personality, although at the same time I fear it may have played a role in his demise. You see, he died of a myocardial infarction, most likely caused by age-related atherosclerosis. Dying of a heart attack is all too common for people who are socially isolated, and Bruno Bolet had most certainly become that.
Did they do an autopsy on Dr. Bolet?
No. Given Bruno's advanced age and the absence of any indication of foul play, an autopsy was deemed unnecessary, and the body was cremated according to Bruno's wishes.
Where was Dr. Bolet when he had his MI?
In the foyer of his house, just inside the front door. In fact, I hadn't seen him for a while, so I picked that day to pay him a visit. I walked up to the front door, found it unlocked as usual, opened it, and there he was, lying on the floor in obvious distress. The next thing I know, his housekeeper came running in and started shrieking and carrying on until finally I sent her out of the room so she could summon an ambulance and I could once again hear myself think. Then let's see. Then I knelt down and saw that he wasn't breathing. So I pulled him away from the doorway so I'd have more room to work on him and began chest compressions. I continued until the medics arrived, but nothing they did made a difference either.
Why would he have a heart attack in the foyer?
That's always been a bit of a puzzlement to me, too.
Can you remember anything that might indicate what he was doing by the front door? I mean, had he just come in from a walk? Was he wearing a hat? Was he holding anything? Had he dropped something? An umbrella? Sunglasses?
Wait a minute. Why, yes, he was holding something. A piece of paper. And on the floor next to him was an envelope. He must have collapsed while reading a letter.
Do you know what happened to it?
Now, I know the letter was no longer in Bruno's hand when the paramedics arrived, so perhaps he released the letter when I moved him. And yet, I do not recall seeing it on the floor when they wheeled him out the door. Iggy.
What's icky?
Iggy. Iggy is an iguana Bruno befriended, then turned loose in his home. It soon developed the annoying habit of stealing paper and stockpiling it in the vent system.
Are you saying an iguana made off with the letter Bruno had been reading?
It would not have been the first time a missing document ended up in Iggy's possession. Renee would periodically call me saying the lizard had absconded with one of Bruno's prescriptions and would I please write her up a replacement. In any case, Bruno once told me he was training Iggy. Said he taught Iggy to retrieve the things it had stolen.
Do you think it's possible that Renee caused Dr. Bolet's death by, say, hoarding the pills from those missing prescriptions and giving them to him all at once?
No. Had he died of an overdose of the medications I had prescribed, the manner of his death would have been quite different. But he died of a heart attack. Of that I am certain. However, I know for a fact that Renee is deeply involved in the practice of hoodoo. And as Bruno's housekeeper, she had ample opportunity to use it against my poor old friend.
You mean hoodoo really works?
Young lady, never, ever underestimate the power of suggestion. If a person believes in something, even on a subconscious level, fantasy can easily become fact. And who knows what rubbish Renee filled Bruno's mind with? Drink this, don't eat that. This brings good luck, that brings bad, day in and day out. Even if he said he didn't believe a word of it, who knows how much his subconscious was absorbing? He was very old and vulnerable. So could Renee have caused Bruno to have that fatal heart attack? There's not a doubt in my mind she could indeed.
Did
If
Dr.
it's good, we
Bolet
didn't
ever
drink
say
that
anything
green
to you
goop.
about owning a crystal skull?
Why, yes. Yes, he
Alright.
did. In fact, he showed it to me once. Said it had magical powers. Said owning it was going to allow him to live forever. I thought it was utter nonsense and told him so. Well, he didn't appreciate that at all. Refused to talk to me for a full 2 weeks.
Do you have any idea where he kept it?
No. He was terrified that someone would steal it from him, so he told no one its location. Not even me. Tell me, Miss Bess, what do you know about that crystal skull?
This friend of mine, who is also a friend of Henry Bolet, you know, Dr. Bolet's great-nephew. Anyway, while she was visiting Henry, she saw this book in Bruno's library about the legendary crystal skulls and was kind of intrigued and thought that since Henry said that you were pretty much Bruno's only friend, maybe Bruno had said something to you about it, and as it turns out, he had. That's all I know.
I see. Well, much as I'd like to believe that skull holds the key to immortality, I'm afraid Bruno's passing proves it's worthless. Although it would make an attractive paperweight, as I recall. Tell your friend not to give it another thought.
Guess I'll be running along.
I've enjoyed our conversation immensely.
Ew.
Yeah, it's a little creepy. Let's go call Nancy.
And that's pretty much it.
Good work. I'll take it from here. Thanks again.
Good luck. Bye.
Okay, so I guess we gotta go find Iggy.
Hello again.
Did Dr. Bolet ever say anything to you about a crystal skull? He may have referred to it as the Whisperer.
No, he never so much as mentioned a crystal skull, whispering or otherwise.
Were you in the house when Dr. Bolet passed away?
I was indeed. I was in the library cleaning when all of a sudden I heard a big thump. I hurried out to investigate, and sure enough, there was Dr. Bolet lying by the front door. And as I rushed over to him, the door opened and in walked Gilbert Buford. He took one look at Dr. Bolet and hollered at me to call 911. So I ran back into the library and did just that. When I came back out, Gilbert was leaning over Dr. Bolet, listening for breathing, I suppose. And then he started pushing up and down on his chest, but it was too late. Even I could tell that Dr. Bolet was gone.
How was it that Gilbert was able to just walk right in like that?
As you yourself discovered, people around here seldom lock their front doors during the day. But you know, in the back of my mind, I have always wondered about Gilbert Buford showing up at the door at that exact moment.
I understand that Dr. Bolet had some interesting pets, like an iguana.
That man never met a creature he didn't like. He'd train them to do all kinds of silly tricks, then let them run free, inside the house as well as out.
Do you know how he went about training them?
I surely do not. Don't get me wrong. I liked Dr. Bolet, I truly did. But I swear, sometimes his activities made as much sense to me as bathing in a bayou full of gators.
I'd better get going.
Thanks for coming by.
Okay, well, I think that's where we're going to leave this episode. We did a lot of talking, and now we have to go find this iguana. So, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and to subscribe to see the continuation, and we will see you guys next time. Bye!